In today's episode, Kristi and I are going to be talking about how you can foster more community in your creative practice. And I just love Kristi's idea of her Rolodex project that she's got going on. It's definitely one of her signature ways that she is creating more connections through her creativity. And we're also going to be talking about how you can show up imperfectly and create more positivity in your life and in your journal. So let's get into it.
Gotta get messy and show the world you growing as an artist. And you're free to be yourself. You got a dream, you need to start it. Stick together. Get messy says you're formally invited to a community where you can find people that spark the field of excitement. Too many art supplies, not enough time. No, it's tougher, so you must find a way to feel some connection. We got a lot of people with the same kind, a great mind. We here for you, a platform so we can hear your views. Time's yours, forget yours. I know you bored of them same rules.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Get Messy podcast episode. Today, I am talking to Kristi, and I can't wait to dig into all of the exciting things that she's got going on in her life right now. Kristi, do you maybe want to say hello to everybody listening and just give us an introduction to who you are and what you do?
Oh, absolutely. Thank you for having me. First of all, this is very exciting. I've never recorded a podcast before, so I'm excited about that. And you'll probably hear little tippy taps as we're recording because my dog is everywhere that I am. So hopefully she stays a little silent, but you'll hear her around here. I'm Kristi Nazzaro. I run my handle is Soul Positive. You can find me best on Instagram. I also have a website. But basically, I am a mixed media artist and an instructor and an all-around person who just really wants to throw positivity out into the world. Yeah, I live in New Jersey in the United States. I actually live right on the Jersey Shore. So I'm very close to beaches and all kinds of good stuff like that. But we also have trails and hiking. So there's a lot of inspiration around me. I'm married for 33 years. I have 3 children. I am also a grandma. A Mimi, they call, my grandson calls me Mimi. So all very, very good things, all good things.
And I love Soul Positive. I don't think you could have gotten a better handle, right? Because you are all about spreading positivity. Your art is vibrant and positive, and I think you live that positivity, which is amazing to see and just so uplifting to be able to witness.
Thank you. Thank you. When I kind of got started with Soul Positive, I was coming out of a weird phase in my life. My children were older and I was having a bit of an identity crisis. I was a stay-at-home mom for a really long time. And so I needed something to focus on. And I was having all these feelings of, growth, and my children no longer needed me as much as they used to, and just this, I felt like I was in this like weird space, right? So I started thinking of the things that I felt like I needed, and then I am like, I can't be the only person who feels like this, right? I'm not the only person that has these feelings or is going through certain things. So it really did feel very natural to have that as my handle and have that pretty much encompass all of who I was. That not only was I an artist, but first and foremost, I'm a human being. I'm a woman. I'm a mom. I'm a wife. I'm all of these things, but I'm also very much myself.
And so you've really grown as an artist. You've grown in your practice and in what you are doing, the different projects that you're involved in. And a lot of that has taken stepping out of your comfort zone. Do you maybe want to talk to us a bit more about how that process has happened for you, what it feels like, and what you're excited about?
Oh, absolutely. I feel like lately, so now I'm 52, and I feel like I'm now finally kind of getting comfortable with who I am and what I have to offer. And I do feel like lately with my art and some of the projects that I've taken on, that it really truly is stepping out of my comfort zone. That I really do feel like it's important to be uncomfortable. There's that saying that people say, "Oh, your comfort zone is great, but nothing grows there," and that for sure is true. Um, I feel like you don't get to grow as a person without some form of discomfort. I mean, life is hard. As
Mm.
far as with my projects, lately I found that I'm stepping out more. I'm doing things afraid. I'm really opening myself up to different feelings and different projects that make me feel a little anxious and excited and scared and all of these emotions. And initially, I think I would hide and I would
Mm.
feel like I didn't want to be that vulnerable in front of people. But I think it's important for other people to see that, and I'm so big on connecting with
Mm.
people. I feel as humans, one on one, we have so much in common, and we share so many feelings. And although we may have differences, and we really do have more in common. And I really love the connection that the art community brings. So I think when other people see you being vulnerable or see you doing things afraid, um, it encourages others to do the same. I think I have a bigger vision for Soul Positive, obviously, than just myself and my art. And I'm tiptoeing towards bigger steps to make Soul Positive really into what I've dreamed it to be. I mean, I'm going 10 years, 11 years with Soul Positive. So I see it as a bigger picture. And I think now that I have more time, I quit my job, my regular job,
Oh,
and I'm
wow.
able to put more time in. I can see that this vision that I've had all of these years is possible. Is possible. It's a learning curve, believe me. It's there's a lot of learning, but I do see step by step that I'm able to see this much bigger picture.
Oh, that is amazing. Well done. It is really inspiring to have seen your journey and your progression. It's, as someone standing on the outside watching all the things that you're doing, it's really something that I look up to personally. So thank you for being an inspiration.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Get Messy was one of those things that I had always from afar looked and I was like, I could never do that. And I think a lot of artists feel the way that I do. Technology is definitely not my strong suit. That is probably the worst part of being an artist is trying to record and edit, and is your light okay, and is it all
Mm.
of those things. So that is scary, and that
Mm.
is something that would probably in the past have held me back. And now I feel like I still don't like editing and I still don't like recording, and when you hear your voice for the first time, you're like,
Uh-huh.
is that what I really sound like? But it's important, and I think people want to see the face behind
Mm.
your account, and they want to see who you are as an artist and as a person. And I know when I am looking on social media or I have people that I really look up to, I I'm so happy to see when they're just being themselves. It's so important to be authentic and to really show up who you are right at that moment. No makeup, hair not done, hands dry, because it's winter when you're making things. I think that's
Mhm.
important for people. And I think there's solidarity in that. And when people see you in just being human, that they relate
Mm.
to you. And yeah, so here I am.
Well done. You're doing a great job of just showing up as you are. It's fantastic. So, something else that I always connect with you is your sense of community and connection to other artists. You really do foster deep relationships and friendships with other artists around you. So, I think I'd love it if you could chat a bit more about why this is so important to you and how you could maybe encourage others that are wanting to reach out. Like, what steps can they take to also start growing outside of their comfort zones in terms of connecting to other artists?
Oh, absolutely. I remember very, very, very early on. I had met an artist. She was going to be at a fair, and I really adored her. And so I drove. It was about an hour away from my house, and I drove, and I was like, "Hi," and I was very like nervous, and I was like, "Hi, like I really admire you." She couldn't have been nicer. She hugged me.
Oh.
She took pictures of me. She took my phone number. She was like, I'll text you these pictures. Oh my goodness, I can't believe you came out. Like, she was so humble and just so open
Mm.
and giving. And just, I was in awe because I was like, here's me. At the time, maybe I had like 400 followers on Instagram. And I really just took this like beautiful ride out to this fair. And she was so open and so generous with her time and so kind that I thought, I want to be like her. Like, I want to be like that. I want to foster community. I want to connect with people. I want to learn from other people. I want to connect with other people. And I want to make someone feel the way that she made me feel that day.
Mm.
So I've had some really, really great role models on my way, kind of moving through becoming an artist and really finding my footing and staying grounded. I've had other artists just really lift me up along the way and encourage me and go way out of their way for me, to help me to become successful, or to,
Mm.
for my first class. I had Sandy Keene and Ray Missigman just actually like Sandy helped me edit my video. She actually edited my videos. They put it up on their website. They promoted me. You don't know what you don't know. I had no idea
Mm.
how to record a class. And I think it's so important as creatives to support one another and really make a very welcoming environment. I know early on I
Mm.
felt very self-conscious and very protective of all of my things that I was doing. Like everything was mind my mind, like, oh, I don't want anybody to copy me. I don't. And I think that's just from being insecure and very like, I was very nervous about who I was, and I wasn't 100% confident as an artist because I was so new. So now, like, especially, and I know we're going to talk about my Rolodex project, but I have people reaching out to me, hey, can I do this too? And I'm like, yes, like, please do it. Please put positivity out there. Please share
Mm.
the gifts that you have. My gifts are different than someone else's gifts, but they're no better. You know what I mean? We all have these beautiful gifts to share with one another, and it's such a shame to hide it. So I
Mm.
feel like the more people that I meet, the more people that reach out to me. I love that. I get so much out of our community. Just the kindness, the sheer kindness from people. I held an in-person class, I think it was in 2023. 2023 was a bit of a rough year for me. My dad had passed away early in that year, and I had already had this class set up. And someone drove 2.5 hours one way to see me and to take my class, and they couldn't have been happy, and they were like, oh, it's so fine. And I'm like, are you sure you're in the right class? Like, you drove all this way to see. She's like, I love you, I just wanted to meet you. And it was so surreal, and so like, it was so wonderful. You know, people are put in your path on purpose, and I think our community is so strong and so supportive. It's really, really great.
Oh, I think you are really one of the forerunners in fostering this sense of positivity and community, and just like cheering for each other, and it's beautiful. It's really beautiful to see.
Thank you. I try, because I love when someone cheers for me. So if I can cheer for someone else, and I see, someone else doing something fantastic, we have to praise that. I mean, we have to support one another. It's so important. It's so important.
It is. Yeah, it is. So we touched on your Rolodex project. I want to know more. I'm dying to hear all about it.
Yes. So I found a very old Rolodex. And I think I think most people know what a Rolodex is. And a lot of like younger people are like, what is a Rolodex? So I have it here. I brought it out.
Fantastic.
So this is the Rolodex. And way back in the day, before there was computers and cell phones, and you worked in an office and you kept all your contacts in here and you typed them on these little cards, and this was like your whole life as a professional. All your contacts were in there. So I happened to be with my friend Judy, and we were antiquing, and out of the corner of my eye, I see this, and it's 70s brown, it's plastic. I see it, and I'm like, I think that's a Rolodex. So I go over there, and like, it's actually a mini Rolodex. The cards are 2 3/4 inches by 1.5 inches, and I love to work small. So I didn't even care what the price was. I'm like, I have to have this. So I bought it, and it sat in my studio for like a little bit. And I was like, what can I do with this? I know a lot of people alter the cards and make them into these beautiful works of art. And I thought, I want to do something different with mine. I want this to be a community-based project, but I don't want it to just be artists. I want it to be everyone. So it's really in the beginning stages. I made a video on Instagram and talk about showing up. So I recorded a video as I was basically explaining the project. And what I see for this project is a Rolodex filled with positivity and encouragement, but not just like notes from self, but notes that you would send to someone else. Notes that would be from basically strangers, or I like to say friends you haven't met yet. Just advice and encouragement from all over the world. So I threw it out there, and I said, look, if you're interested and you'd like to decorate a card or just send, handwrite it, whatever you want to do, I will mail you one. You just have to mail it back to me. So I really got some great, I think there's 75. I've mailed 75 out so far.
Wow.
Lots of United States, but I mean, tons of places overseas, France, England, Portugal. I mean, they're out there. I wanted this to be open to everybody and not just to artists. So any in-person events that I do, I'm going to bring my typewriter and the Rolodex with me so people
Oh.
can work on it. But I also am hoping to reach out to a couple of local bookstores or businesses that would have me basically just kind of sitting there and talking to people as they come in and shop to see if they would be interested in being a part of the project. I really am looking at it in a much bigger picture than just I really want it to be a hands-on community project.
Oh my word, that is exciting. That is really exciting. Have you got a number that you're hoping to achieve? A number of cards?
I want to fill it. There's so many cards in here that I just want to fill it. Like that's my goal is to have every single card filled and then it will be full. But I would love to actually see other people do the same thing. Start a Rolodex project the same way and just mail out cards and have them come back. For some reason I have so many postage stamps. I think over the years, I've just every time I'm at the post office, I buy stamps just to have them. There's so many really cool ones. So I had like this surplus of stamps, and I'm like, you know what better way to use these stamps up and send it out? And it's really fun decorating the envelopes and seeing where everything is going. And I'm just keeping a list of whoever contributes to the project. And you can remain anonymous if you'd like to, but you can also, I'm telling people they can write their names on the back of the cards as well. So
Oh, that
I
is
think
so
it'll be good.
special.
Yeah.
Yes.
I hope you'll join.
You know what I'm thinking? Okay, obviously, first my mind's going to like, this could be a book or something, right? It feels like it should be published once it's finished and be put out in the world somehow.
Right.
That's my first thought. Like, it needs to go bigger. And the other thing that I'm thinking is, wouldn't it be exciting if people who sent a card back sent you a little letter almost of who they are? Like, this is my story, so that you had a story attached to the card?
Yes. Yes,
Just a
I would
thought.
love that. I even thought of that when I did like when I was going to do an in-person event, like even recording a little bit of people telling like who they are, what their story
Yes.
is, how they
Yes.
came to this positive note or this encouragement. I just think there's such connection in that. There's so when
Yeah,
people are heard,
absolutely.
like we all just want someone to hear us and to see us and to hold space for us. So I do hope that this project takes off. I mean, it is gaining traction.
Oh,
It is, people are sharing it and people are reaching out. So it's definitely getting some traction. So hopefully it just grows and grows.
oh, it's so fantastic. I love this idea. It's like a living thing that is just multiplying positivity all around the world. It is amazing. Well done. Oh my
Oh, thank
goodness.
you. Thank you. I hope that it takes off. I
Oh,
really hope that other people give it a whirl too, where they just have their own Rolodex and just, go out there, talk to people, get their feedback, get their positivity, grab their encouragement. It's perfect. It's really I'm gonna start as they start to come in, I'm gonna share them on social media and really push them out there to kind of
yes.
spread the word.
Oh, it's going to be so exciting. It's going to be fascinating to see the variety that's going to come in.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so this has now got me thinking a lot of your projects that you do and a lot of your work is you've got a very unique way of looking at things, interpreting them, making them your own, and making them different. You're very innovative in how you sort of push things forward. Is this something that you've had to cultivate over time? How do you develop that sense of sort of just taking it in your own direction?
I do. I definitely think that it has taken a lot of practice over the years. I mean, I look at people's work and I'm like, wow, like I'm like blown out of the water with how talented people are. And
Mm.
I think for myself, um, art journaling for me and my work is really like something is inside of my heart, or a lot, most of the time, inside of my head. And I have to get that out. And the way, you know, I wish so badly that I was like a journaler that wrote all the time. Um, and could
Mm.
just write it all down and have diaries and journals in that way. And I'm so in awe when people are like that. But for some reason, that's a practice that I
Wow.
just can't keep. So
Mm.
I continue, like, my thoughts and my feelings and emotions come out in color. Um, it just like comes out in color
Mm.
first, like the background comes out, and I'll have like just usually like a phrase or a word that is central to like what's happening to me, and it just comes out color first, then little marks as I'm working through it, and I'm thinking, you know, how can I get this out? How can I process that? And that includes like marks and strokes and pencil, and then the next thing I know, the word is out or the phrase is out, and I'm like, okay, all right, that's good.
Oh, okay. So I know color's a big thing for you. Your
Yes.
work is just bright and bold and beautiful. So I'm going to ask you a really difficult question, which
Okay.
is if you could only work in one color for the rest of your art career,
Oh
what
boy.
color would that be?
um well, I would, oh boy, so that's really tough, but can it be like different hues of the same color?
It's totally up to you.
Okay, so if I have to pick one color, it's gonna be blue, which is not my favorite color. Purple is
Mm.
my absolute favorite color of all things, and purple is life. But blue, I feel like blue is more me. Like purple is my sassy
Oh,
side. She's the girl that didn't get enough sleep.
okay.
She's the one that drinks a lot of coffee, right? But blue is like my, like, the person who is like just
Mm.
chill, and I'm in all different shades. Some days I'm lighter, some days I'm darker. So I would say blue if I had to choose, which is really a difficult choice, but blue is it.
So, Kristi, you are so prolific in the art that you make. You've always got some projects going on, or you've got journals that you're creating. You're sort of very independent in creating. You don't need to have a class that you have got working on, or, you know, it's just, it seems like a very natural thing for you to just be constantly creating. So, do you ever find that you have creative blocks or creative lulls where creating is maybe a bit more difficult than it usually is? And how do you overcome those periods?
I do. If my life gets busy, if my life really starts to get busy, then I find that I don't have the amount of time to create. Or if just something is going on in my world that needs a lot of my attention,
Mm.
and I just don't feel like it, that happens to me. And I try not to freak out about it, because in the end, as much as I love like the business aspect of art is cool, right? Like that's not why I do this. So I kind of just let whatever is happening happen, and I try not to obsess really with like, oh my goodness, like I don't have any content. Oh my gosh, I didn't post today. I haven't been in the studio for a week. I really just I let it go. And either maybe that it looks differently. Maybe then the creative aspect of process is different. Maybe it's a walk. Maybe it's a ride to the beach. Maybe it's a trail, or just even a ride in the car just to see something different. I try not to let any type of block like stay. Like I don't move. Like it's a nice spot to like rest for a second, but I try not to like build a house there, because I think like psychologically it would not be good for me. So there's times in my life where my artistic process, the process of moving color and paint and words onto paper, I don't have access to that for whatever reason. So I just really try to find another way to kind of process that. I do pray quite a bit. I am very faithful and I do pray. So I also have that aspect of my life. But I do find that at times I just really need to get outside. Even if it's freezing out, just the fact of getting outside, taking deep breaths, getting fresh air, seeing something new, that tends to help kind of push through and put everything back in perspective for me, to like, okay, like it's okay to feel this. It's okay to not want to create today. Let's just go about our day. Let's just let, I always say, like, you got to feel the feels. Like, I feel them. I'm like one of those like big feelings people. I carry big feels, and sometimes I'm not ready to get it out on paper, and I just need to couple of deep breaths and to get outside, or just change my environment or what I'm looking at.
So maybe what I'm taking from this is maybe we should redefine what we view as being creative. Going out for a walk and doing some deep breathing is in itself an act of creating then, or being creative. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Bake some bread, make a meal, make a coffee,
Yes.
take a walk, just notice what's around. Just take a few deep breaths outside. Anything can be creative. It's not, excuse me, it's not necessarily all paint and watercolor and brushes, and it's not always that. And I think really that's for me what soul positive is. It's creatively keeping my soul positive. And sometimes that's art, and sometimes that's paper and paint. And you know what? Sometimes it's baking pumpkin bread, or it's walking on a trail, or it's riding my bike. It's things that we do for ourselves that really keep us in a positive mainframe.
Yeah, that's really important. And I think it's important for us to have that in the forefront of our mind, right? You don't have to go into your studio every day and create something. Sometimes doing something outside your studio is even more important, because that's what your soul needs that day, more than trying to force yourself to create something that doesn't feel right.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You can't force something. It has to be, it has to flow. And with a flow is an ebb. You know what I mean? That's how it goes. That's life,
Yeah.
right? So sometimes you're not going to flow. Sometimes you have to flow somewhere else. So I do think that that's really important, that you don't get down on yourself or be too hard on yourself, or really, park your car there. Like, you got to be able to sway back and forth.
So what's your favorite medium to work in, and why is that something that you think you're drawn to?
Well, I love color. So I'm big with acrylic paint. I use a lot of acrylic paint, but I also love watercolor. I love to mix them. I
Mhm.
love to throw watercolor onto an acrylic paint page. Obviously not mudding it up, but just I like to kind of stretch how far it goes,
Mhm.
stretch what you can do, try something different. I never used watercolor ever, and I would see people making beautiful watercolor, and I would think, wow, like that's so pretty. I could never do that. And then I bought a set, and I'm like, I could do this. I can paint in watercolor too. And imagine that, like you can do them both. A lot of times my backgrounds are acrylic, and then my elements or my embellishments on the page are watercolor. So I think really paint, I guess, would be my biggest medium that like I have to have. But saying that, like I love words. I love cutting words out of magazines. I love typing
Mhm.
them on my typewriter. Um, I'm starting to handwrite a little bit more in my journals. I think that's important to have my handwriting kind of go in there as well. I think whatever you feel comfortable with for that day, but color for sure. Color
Mhm.
for sure.
You use a lot of fibers too, a lot of thread, a lot of fabric, and I think your work is very textural in that sense, or very layered, right? Because as you're saying, you might have the acrylic background, but then your watercolor elements get added on top, and then you've got the words and the thread, and it's when I look at your journals, they seem very tactile. I just want to climb through my screen and sort of stroke them sometimes.
Yes, they are chunky and there's all kinds of feels in there, thread and paint and watercolor and things that are cut out and things that fold in. I love a tip in. I think the tip in is the best thing ever. I love that you can hide stuff with a tip in. I love that you can add stuff with a tip in. Um, for sure. For sure. I love to have things hanging out. And it's just layer upon
Mm.
layer because I think, we are layers, aren't we? I mean, we are layers. I know I am. There's a lot of skins to this onion. So I feel like that shows in my art just how many, lots of layers.
Yeah, I love that you say that because my next question was going to be, do you think that all of those different elements represent, because you were saying earlier, like you feel the feels, right? So I
Yeah.
was wondering if all of those different elements could sort of symbolize the different emotions and the thoughts and the feelings and all, it all comes together, as you say, that onion with all its layers, it makes a whole, but there's so many different little elements that could represent different parts of who you are and what you are feeling and experiencing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, it just pours out when I'm working, and those feels are me, and I am such a layered person. There's so many pieces to me,
Mm.
and I feel like it really does show in my art. Where I am, and depending on what the words are, you can tell where I am, like where my head is at.
Mm.
Um, I do try to take negativity that I experience and I do try to turn that into a positive. And I have learned over the years how to do that and how that works for me. I am a positive person. I think I've been a positive person my entire life. But when there is negativity or there are things that hurt me or bother me, I feel like I have learned how to turn it into a positive and try to channel myself.
Mm.
Like it's easier for me to get through things in that way. I don't like to sit in the
Mm.
mud too long. It's important to wade through it and it's important to get through it, but I don't like to sit there. So I do feel like over the years, I really truly have learned to channel that negativity into something positive.
Yeah, I think it's really important what you're saying now. Like, being positive doesn't mean you ignore the fact that there is negativity or try and hide, shy away from that, but actually feeling it and finding a healthy way to move through it and to change it into something that helps you to move forward, instead of something that you allow yourself to sort of sink into and to hold you back. But actually facing it and finding a healthy way of dealing with it's really important.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You can't ignore it, right? It's not like I'm like, "Oh, I don't know. There's nothing negative." No, there is. There's life. I mean, it's life, right? Right? I feel like aren't we walking uphill most of the time? But
Yep.
you're not going to change that. So for me, I can't change that. All the things that happen in life, the negative things, the hurtful things, the sad things, you have to channel that some way. You have to feel it. But I don't like to stay there. I like to move through it. And that's really, I think it's important. You can't ignore the things that are hard, right? You have to like acknowledge the hard things, but keep going.
So for someone who is wanting to push their creativity a bit more, in the sense of actually using their art journals as a space where they can really feel their feelings, get it out on the page, and allow it to become a space where they're finding healing, what advice would you give them? What steps could they practically put in place to help themselves to be able to have the freedom and the confidence to express their emotions within their journal pages?
Well, I think it's important to show up, right? Like show up imperfectly. Don't don't create to show other people. Create for yourself. I think that's really like my number one takeaway. I like what I create, and that's important to me. It's important for me to like what I'm making. And that's really who you should be creating for, is yourself. That's first and foremost. And show up like I show up imperfectly every single day. I'm an imperfect person. And I think it's important to show up as you are. And if you don't feel good that day, you can start by writing it all out and then throw some paint over it and cover it. I did that for a while. I used to just write it all out on the background of my page and then put paint over it. And I find that was like a good way in the beginning when I first started to kind of get through things. And sometimes you can see if there's some handwriting on my journal pages. You'll be able to see like it's scribble, like I write it out still sometimes, but mostly find what works for you. Maybe it's the first thing in the morning, you get 5 or 10 minutes and just get it out. Or maybe it's at night when your children are in bed or you have a little free time after the long day. Maybe you can work then. Squeeze in the time for yourself. Take a minute, grab a cup of coffee or a cup of tea, and just find the time. But I think show up imperfectly. Like, show up as you are, and it just will come naturally. And then later on, when you feel comfortable, share your work online, share yourself a little at a time. I didn't go out and post my first thing, my very first post of like, here I am, world. Like, it wasn't like that. It was a very organic kind of just a little step at a time. If you feel comfortable, you may never feel comfortable to share your work online, but just know that there's other people in our community who feel the same way that you do, that are going through the same things that you do. And there is comfort there. There's community there. So I would say
Yeah.
just show up however you feel, you know, what works best for you, the time frame. I know when my children were
Mm.
smaller, I didn't have a lot of time. I could only do a little here and a little there. So
Yeah, life's got different seasons, right? And you've just got to be as present in that season as you can. I think it's important to sort of recognize that not all of us can make all day long right now, maybe in the
right,
future, but if it's not possible for you right now, then take some time to do what you can for yourself, because it's really important to nurture your soul too for those around you so that you are healthy and able to be there for the people that need you.
right, right. It's important to
Mm.
take care of you first. And that's
Mm.
you know, first and foremost, create and write and paint and create in your journal for yourself. Like that really I think is like
Mm.
my biggest takeaway in all of this is I make what I make because I like it and it feels good for me. And I think as artists, that's what we should be doing. And if other people connect to it, then woohoo, like that's it, right? Then that's like, yes, like that is where we're supposed to be. But in the same token, I still love it. I still love what I created, and that's what's important for me. And I think it's more authentic. Like I feel more authentic that way, more
Mm.
genuine when I create that way.
Absolutely. I don't think we could say anything better than that. So I'm going to say thank you so much for joining me, and thank you for sharing your heart and your positivity. It is an inspiration, and you are a bright, beaming light in the community. And I
Oh,
can't thank you enough for that.
thank you. Thank you for having me. This was so exciting. I really, really appreciate it. Thank you.